a Zara Burton report, right? And then, of course, I am going to turn to the panel as it relates to, to assess what Zara Burton stated in her report. And, to the fact that I've read the report already, right? There are some things I do agree with Zara Burton with. However, we are not going to waste any time. We are just going to put up the report as it relates to Zara Burton report, and then we can just dissect it, right, at the end of that. So just sit back, relax, and let us take ourselves through Zara Burton report. Without any delay, honey, can you put it up? Here. Okay, so this is the Zara Burton report, 18 Degrees North investigations, and she's asking a question there as it relates to her introduction. Did the Integrity Commission miss the boat while investigating Prime Minister Andrew Holness' unexplained wealth? So that is a question that Zara Burton is asking, if the Integrity Commission missed the boat while investigating Prime Minister Andrew Holness, right, on unexplained wealth. Right now, subscriber content. Despite a 2-year probe of the financial dealings of Jamaica's Prime Minister Andrew Holness, the Integrity Commission failed to investigate the source of funds for his now defunct offshore company, Admat Incorporated. And I quite, sort of on the side with Zara Burton as it relates to, right, where the Integrity Commission had started their investigation from the 2021 statutory declaration. But anyway, let us just go through the report. The revelation in its report tabled in Parliament on September 17 raises a question about the thoroughness of the Commission's investigation into Mr. Holness' unexplained wealth, since it overlooked one of the most significant periods between 2008 and 2011. I know that repeatedly, Ratigan and myself, you understand, always talk about the Admat period, and this is the Admat period that Zara Burton is also pointed out. And remember, time and time again, Ratigan and myself, right, talking about the foundation of the crime. Now, let us read on. When Mr. Holness used Admat to purchase $57.1 million as it relates to $692,478 worth of properties without any registered mortgages at a time when his average salary as Minister of Education averaged about $5.2 million in bracket, US dollars $62,513 per year, not counting allowances. Very, very important argument Zara Burton is making here. And remember, my people, I always said, I always give kudos to Zara Burton, right? I see Zara Burton as one of the best investigator journalists that we have in the entire Caribbean, the truth be told, right? And so Zara Burton is getting into the meat of the matter here. To be sure, the Commission's investigation was triggered by concern about Mr. Holness' statutory declaration in 2021. His declaration up to 2020 had been previously certified by the Commission or its predecessors. But even though those declarations had been previously certified, the Commission's Director of Investigation decided that to thoroughly investigate the issues raised, the Director of Investigation inquiries had to be expanded to 2008 and up to 2023, 2018, and up to 2023. It didn't mention going back to before 2018, which would be the time frame between 2007 to 2009. Again, people, Ratigan and myself always speak about the foundation of the crime. The investigation report also made clear that the source of funds used to acquire assets held by Admat was not verified by way of an investigation by the commission. This is quite serious. This is noteworthy because Admat was registered in St. Lucia in February 2008 as a holding company for estate planning purposes. And according to Mr. Holness, in a 2016 interview with 18 Degrees North, so its asset would seem to have come directly from Mr. Holness. By not having probed Admat, Ian Nelson, a certified public accountant living and working in the United States, who happens to be a Jamaican, believes the Integrity Commission totally missed the boat. Well, we on the panel, we are going to break down that. We are at the tail end of the chase, not the beginning. Mr. Nelson said, if you look at the source of funds for Admat back then, there might have been something to talk about. I do agree with that. The commission didn't answer a question from 18 Degrees North as to why it didn't probe the source of funds for Admat, which Mr. Holness had disclosed in 2016, had 3 shareholders, being himself and his then 2 teenage sons, Admat and Matthew. While Admat was mentioned in the investigation report, the commission's main concern was what was the value of Admat's assets in 2021 and how did it contribute to Mr. Holness' overall net worth then and beyond. Why a probe of Admat is important. This is why this is how Zara Burton is setting up the background in explaining why that is important. Let us get into it. As 18 Degrees North reported in 2016, the first known property purchased by Mr. Holness and his wife Juliet was in 2002. People want to be listening very keenly, you know, when they bought their home at Great House Boulevard in St. Andrew for $7 million in US currency, $144,152. With Mr. Holness' salary as a member of parliament being around $2.2 million in US conversion, $45,442 per year. People need to understand what Zara Burton is saying, you know. Right? Where Andrew Holness bought $7 million property, you understand, and a salary just $2.2 million. So people want to understand what Zara Burton is saying here. There are 2 listed mortgages amounting to $5.3 million, right? As it relates to US conversion, $109,761. And I love how Zara Burton is breaking down the detail of this report, which means that their down payment was only $1.67 million. $7 million to $5.33 million. People want to think about that. Because they are getting $5.33 million and yet they are able to buy $7 million property. That doesn't make sense, people. Make the maths add up. This is where Zara Burton is going, and which I have to agree with Zara Burton. And yet, 6 years later in 2008, without any listed mortgages, people, without any listed mortgages, Andrew Holness did not buy the property and be aided by a bank loans. Admat was able to purchase an apartment on Arcadia Drive in St. Andrew for $16 million. People, I want us to look at this. Right? Knowing to the fact the Prime Minister's salary. And yet the Prime Minister purchased an apartment on Arcadia Drive in St. Andrew for $16 million. People, the Prime Minister was just getting 2.2 million at the time. That was what the Prime Minister getting. And the Prime Minister is buying property for $7 million. and buying property for $16 million. Come on, Jamaica. Come on. In US dollars conversion, 219,449. In 2009, a lot at Wycliffe Close in Beverly Hills in St. Andrew for $15.275 million. This is crazy, people. This is crazy. In US dollars, 173,000. And in 2011, look at this, people. 300,000 US dollars, 25.8 million for a piece of land at Shenstone Drive, also in Beverly Hills, and wish his big house was eventually built. Now, people, this is something that you see the reasons why Andrew Holness doesn't want FID, right, to investigate, because FID is going to go back to 2008. And Andrew Holness is going to have to explain all of what we have read. Now let us read further on. In addition, while answering investigators' question about the kind of financial assets that Admat transferred to Imperium Investment Holding Limited, another holding company registered in Jamaica and owned by Mr. Holness, when Admat was eventually wound up in St. Lucia in December 2021, Mr. Holness revealed that in 2008, Admat Inc. purchased 100,000 US dollars, right? Government of Jamaica global bonds that made twice yearly coupon payments. That investment was eventually sold in September 2021. Now, together, the bond purchase and property acquisitions amounted to $64.46 million. In US dollars, $792,478 between people 2008 and 2011. Begging the question, where did that money come from? This is very, very extremely serious for the Prime Minister and the conundrum that the Prime Minister has found himself in. There is every red flags, right, talking about illicit enrichment here. There every red flag that talking about money laundering here. It is quite apparently clear that the Prime Minister just cannot explain his source of wealth coming up from the period between 2008, right, to 2009. And as we speak, and so then, you know, let me just read on because I want to make case get to the panel. In 2007, Mr. Holness had assets of only $472,531 and $7.1 million, according to a Gleaner article written after Mr. Holness shared his 2007 to 2016 statutory declarations with that newspaper, along with two other media outlets, not with 18 Degrees North, despite recent requests, right? Because he's hiding the information from 18 Degrees North. When converted and summed together, that $39.7 million in US conversion, $575,370, after subtracting the stated liabilities of US $2,874 and Jamaica $3.4 million. 18 Degrees now calculate that Mr. Holness' net worth would have been around $36.1 million, right? As it relates to US conversion, $523,248 in 2007. Now, how the Prime Minister come by this? When the salary is $5.8 million.
$2 million, Baron. That was the mortgage, it's $2.2 million.
Right? Since the purchase price of the Great House Boulevard, home was $7 million, it appears just the $472,531 was liquid or near liquid. And here is a breakdown of the 2007 net worth of Andrew Holness, right? Combined assets, liabilities, and so forth, right? Where we see a total net worth 523, right? 248, right? And $36 million, 125,000. How did the Prime Minister come by all of this? Let us just get straight to the panel, because believe you me, The Prime Minister is in serious bind. Now, based on what we just read, as it relates to the Prime Minister salary, right, in 2008, that needs to be borne out to the people. And where the Prime Minister utilized Admat, right, to buy roughly about 5 or 6 properties, right? And we are seeing where the total amount is just, I would say, might be the ratio of about 7 times the Prime Minister salary. Ratty, can you lead us in terms of such discrepancy as it relates to the Prime Minister's salary and the Prime Minister wealth being attained during those periods, Brother Rattigan? Please guide us through those eras.
Okay. In 2008, what did Admat purchase? It was established in 2008. What property did it purchase? Marie, could you please go back to the first part? I'm going to take a quick look at that.
Yes, we're going to show all the properties. Hold on.
Yeah, just go back to no, go up, please. Keep going. All right. 2002. All right. Okay. All right. Now, you just put on there. Yeah, that's good right there. If you put on investigators, that one of the things that Zara Burton didn't do, I don't know why she didn't do it. The first paragraph, she said that they, meaning the Prime Minister and his wife, purchased a home. Maybe she didn't have the information. We don't know how much money she contributed to that down payment. Go down a little bit for me, please.
Down or up?
Yeah. All right. I'll stop right there. Right. See, it says Juliet. The first home they bought was in 2002 when they bought the Great House Boulevard in St. Andrew for $7 million, with his salary as a member of parliament being around 2.2. What I would be interested to know is how much money did she contribute to that? We know how much money he was making, and it says that their down payment was only 1.67. I mean, we don't know how much she contributed to that. So that's just a curious point. It's an interesting point. It's not a really significant point. Here's a significant point. In 2008, when it was formed, Admat, it purchased an apartment on Acadia Drive. It purchased a lot on Wycliffe Close, and it purchased the Shenstone Drive lot. Also, it purchased a bond for $100,000 US. So now we're looking at 3 pieces of property. Go down for me, please. Keep going. No, yeah, keep going. Oh, you go too fast. No, keep up. Then one purchase and property. Keep going on. Let me see. All right, sit right there. Mr. Holness revealed that in 2008, Admat Inc. purchased $100,000 a Government of Jamaica global bond that made twice yearly coupon payments. So then the question then is, okay, you purchased 3 high-end pieces of property, and then you purchased a bond for $100,000 US. But then when you go back to 2002, between 2002 and 2008, when all this, that period between the first purchase and then these major purchases in 2000, we know that he was only making a certain amount of money, and there's no way he could afford it. So here's what happened. I completely agree with Zara and with Byron that something is wrong here, that the Prime Minister has to explain this. But you know who has to explain a little bit more for me? It's the Integrity Commission. Because with all of this, I want to show you something. I want to share something with you. Just keep that 18 degrees north investigations the paragraphs in mind, the one about the purchases. But folks, I want you to take a good look at this. You can see that. You can see that, Byron.
Yes.
Maria, you can see that.
Yes, you can see it.
You can see it. All right, now, folks, I just turned to this, and this is 5.8.31 of the Integrity Commission's 171-page report. And look at what's in red. It says that in 2000, as of December 2020, Admat held assets totaling 130 million, right? Inclusive of the residences and the finance and the financial assets. And it was wound up on December 30, 2021, meaning that they dissolved the company. They just finished the company, and they took the assets and they transferred everything to Imperium. Why did they wind up the company at that point in time? We'll probably get to that later on, because it has to do with the laws, not with what the Prime Minister said in his affidavit, saying that it was because of public outcry. That's nonsense. But look at this, 5.8.32. That is probably one of the most significant pieces of information relative to the point that Byron just made. Let me big it up so you can really see. This is where I think the Integrity Commission screwed up. And it's two lines. It says, this is after them done tell you about Admat, right? It is important to note that the source of funds used to acquire assets held by Admat was not verified by way of an investigation by the Commission. Now, there are two ways to read that. You can read it that there was an investigation and they couldn't verify it, or that it wasn't verified because they didn't have an investigation. Very tricky sentence. I don't know why it was written this way. It's not written in it. The language looks simple, but the interpretation, it's ambiguous, because it said the source of funds used to acquire assets held by Admat was not verified by way of an investigation. So they're saying we didn't verify it because we didn't have an investigation.
Yes.
Or some people could interpret it to say it was not verified by way of an investigation that we conducted. But either way, what they're saying is that they don't know where the money come from.
But Rati, can I ask you a question right here? Admat, as according to what the Prime Minister said, is a holding company.
Yes.
Right? So let me ask a question. Does Admat have an established account?
Admat did not have a bank account, you know.
Okay, so let me ask you another question. If Admat doesn't have a bank account, can you explain to us
how the money
Admat purchasing these properties? No,
you stick me up now, man.
No, but
Maria, at this point, I said, take it away. I'm about to answer the question. No, hey, look, Byron, the question you asked me,
yes,
I don't know. I really don't know. And that's a question that they should have been asking him, because we read in this report, or somewhere in this report, that Admat did not have a bank account. Admat did not have a bank account. So the question is, okay, it's a holding company. What financial instrument did they use then to hold on to this money in St. Lucia?
There it is.
So, yeah, so here it is that I agree with you. I agree with her that we don't know them drop the ball on this one, because since them start and them gone back, them try to just go all the way back and just say, you know what, we don't care where we're going to say our people say, we are going to do what we think is right by the law and by the Jamaican people, because people need to know where this money come from. You can't have all this money just fly all over the place and purchase this, purchase that, and you don't have a source. Where did this money come from? Where? And here it is. I mean, it's right here. What section is this again? That's what 5.8.32. Folks, if you have a chance, go just look up this section inside of the report, and you'll see they said that Admat not verified. The source. Again, here it is. It says it is important to note that the source of funds used to acquire assets held by Admat was not verified by way of an investigation by the commission. And nowhere in this report will you find that they said, oh, we verified that the money came from this place and it ended up in Admat. So the Prime Minister is in deep trouble.
But
I also fault Integrity Commission, because they should have gone a bit deeper. They should have gone back and look at this. It's not enough to say, well, we couldn't verify it.
yes,
You know, it should have been important. What you know what I would have loved to see inside of this report? That we contacted the St. Lucian authorities, and this is what they said about Admat.
yes.
I would have loved to see that piece in there.
But Ratty, my next question is, and forgive me to be asking these questions, but I just have to,
No. Yeah.
if Admat, based on what we have read, appears to be the original source of funds as it relates to buying up those properties, right? And the Integrity Commission, based on what they said here, it is important to know that the source of funds used to acquire assets held by Admat was not verified by the way of an investigation by the Commission. Then my question is, why did the Integrity Commission certified Andrew Holness 2019 statutory declaration?
There you go. So that's an outstanding question. That's an outstanding. Oh, and here's another question.
Yeah.
If it was verified, if you verify a statutory declaration, can you go back and unverify it?
Because where I'm getting at, Ratty, based on this investigation, is that if you have problem with this 2021 statutory declaration, right, as it relates to the source of funds, what that should suggest to any investigator that all previous statutory declaration being certified would have now been affected. Am I correct in saying that?
Yes.
Exactly. So that let me just break a bit and just have Sister Maria.
But you know, but one quick second. The three pieces of property, the three pieces of property. Do you know if by December 2020 that Admat still owned those pieces of property? December 30, 2020, not 2021.
Yeah, I would believe so. I would presume so.
But if that is the case, then guess what?
Yes.
This number here is wrong. This 130 million. That's incorrect. It will be incorrect.
Yeah, and you will be correct in saying that.
Yeah, if Admat owned the Shenstone, the White Cliff, and the other one, the apartment.
Yes.
And the bond hadn't been paid yet. Those four assets, they come up to more than 130 million.
You would be correct.
So why is it then that we see where the chartered accountant is saying that as of December 31st, 2020, this is what Admat owned? This number here, 130 million. That can't be correct.
It can't be, because if you read along here, it said that Admat held assets totaling $130 million, $423,412, inclusive of residential and financial assets. Admat was wound up on December 30, 2021. So in 2020, Admat would have owned it based on what that we have just read there.
And it's more than those what, three pieces of property or four pieces of property plus the bond The bond alone is 100,000.
Exactly. So this is not correct. This is not correct. You're right. You know,
Every time we go through this is
Let me move it.
look, this is getting more serious. But before we chat along, I don't want to burn Maria and don't have Maria said something. All right, Sister Maria, jump in right here, and then we go back. Me and Ratigan again, and you again will go back in the details. Go ahead, Sister Maria.
Well, like sand through the hourglass, so are the funds in Andrew Holness's account just streaming through. And I'm looking at Zara's report, and she does very good reporting, very good investigative journalist in Jamaica. And 2002, you see his um, not his statutory declarations, his assets, what his assets were. But to
Yes.
fully understand, to get a full sense of where we are regarding the IC report, and one has to go back to the very beginning. And I would say go back to 1997 when he became a member of parliament and
Agreed.
look at his finances building up from then. So when you do that, you would get a sense of what were the sources of his income then. He just became member of parliament, so how much money was he getting then? Okay, did he start doing investments after that? Where did he invest, and all of that, and build from there? Because you cannot start an investigation in the middle and expect to come away with a satisfactory conclusion, because there are other things that happened prior to that would not have factored into the investigation. So
Mm-hmm.
it would be prudent, in my opinion, because he's the prime minister, to go all the way back to 1997 when he
Yeah.
just started in that position as a politician, because in the interest of good governance and transparency, that is warranted, because nobody can understand how he has funded his lifestyle. And this thing about being bad mind and envious, nobody not bad minding Andrew for nothing. That's garbage. He is the prime minister. How on God's green earth the prime minister of a small country like Jamaica has 28 bank accounts? And why it is he is unable to show the sources of his income? How did money come into that? And if Admat was a holding company, how was it generating funds? Where was the money coming from, in and out? Nobody can see that. And again, I'll go back. He got money from SSL, but there is nothing in black and white showing when he made a deposit into SSL.
how much?
So, with all these open ended questions, one has to say, what kind of prime minister Jamaica has? What kind of prime minister? Because nothing, all of this reeks of corruption, every bit of it. And him being a prime, and the way he likes to run his mouth, he should be the first one to say to the Integrity Commission, these are, be an open book. This is how I fund my lifestyle. I have investments here. This is what I invest in. This is how much I make for a salary. It's open secret how much he makes for a salary. This is how much I make. This is where I invest. How he's just walking and purchasing properties. And one of the issues, one of the things that I have a serious issue with is that the prime minister in the middle of a pandemic was busy opening and closing bank accounts and busy doing all kinds of investments, $20 million here, over $400,000 there. All of that was happening while the country was asleep, because nobody could go anywhere and do any
Yeah.
serious work, because he shut the country down. And then
Yes.
he opened it up to run an election to benefit himself. And then when he benefited himself, he shut it down again, while at the same time he was doing his three card trick with all these bank accounts. So the more we talk about this, is the more questions that arise and the less answers that can be derived, because nobody has, the only person with the answers is Andrew Holness, because he bought a house with his wife. How much did she contribute, like Ratigan said? Because in the IC report, there is nothing, there are no bank accounts that we see with her name on it as a spouse. We see his constituency worker, we see his mother, we see his father, but we don't see his wife. Why is that so? Is it that do they have accounts that we are yet to unearth, the IC is yet to unearth with her name on it? Or is the situation where they just have this agreement that we're not gonna join our monies because my money might be your more than your money, and your money might be too is my monkey money for mine, so we can't join. So all in all, we look at this and you just leave, you're left scratching your head wondering why, how, and where are the people in the Jamaica Labour Party, in the current administration to stand up and say to him, given the cloud of suspicion that you are under, it is in the best interest of the country for you to step aside, allow this to play out. And if all works in your favor, then you're free to come back. But show that you are serious about addressing the problem of corruption in Jamaica by doing the honorable thing and stepping aside. Because all Zara Burton's reporting has done is raise more questions.
Serious
That's
question.
all. And serious questions. And the only person with those answers is Andrew Holness. Is he going to give up those answers? He's too arrogant for that. And his arrogance, his lies, and his pettiness is getting on top of the nerves of everybody.
Yes.
Okay.
Let me just add a quick piece here to it.
Yes,
You
brother.
know, in the same report, I don't know. Well, actually, I underlined it. I don't know why I didn't raise it. We're talking about going back and looking at 1996, 1997, because they were doing statutory declarations then under the I think it was the
Contractor General.
corruption act, or the other one. They had an integrity act commission at the same time. But they were doing statutory, they just didn't start in 2017. They were doing them before.
Yes.
So like Maria said, maybe they should have, not maybe, they should have gone back. But here's an interesting piece. In the same report, it says, and this is worth showing. You know what? Let me show you this, because no one won't believe this. I'm going to show you what. Just every time I read this report, I see something that, you said to yourself, so how could they allow this to happen?
Mm-hmm.
Here we go. Marie, could you please put up that for me?
No. Ratty, just hold up a minute there. Let me just take a call and before you proceed. Please.
Okay.
Yes, caller, you're on Mystic Sensation Live. Go ahead.
Yes, brother Byron.
Yes, my brother.
So one previous program we have, he did a try to find out the shareholder in SSL.
Oh yes.
But you see, he did have a missing name I couldn't come up with. I wonder for Andrew name.
Oh boy.
There was a percentage.
Where you get money out of financial institution like that, where you not deposit nothing unless you shareholder say you get your dividend. That's right, though.
There you go, my boss.
That's a financial thing, though.
I tell you something. There were 3 names that were missing. Yes, there were 3 names were missing, and I was.
Yes. You show the program. I want the blackout, and we can't find out how.
Exactly.
So I want to name that.
Well, I don't know. I don't know.
You can find say you deposit money, but you tell us say you get money. It come like say me, I'm shares in our business, and when the business make profit, them send my little much come. That's how it go.
Yes, my boss. Yes, my boss.
No money, because I don't put my investment in it, I don't put my thing in it, that me own it, a part of the ownership. Never shares in it, so when I make money, me get my percentage here.
A good argument.
Somebody have to do some. Somebody have to do some deep dive to find out that third person there,
A good argument, yeah, looking at my boss. Good solid argument, yeah.
Yeah, man, that third person, I want to find him out. Now, I tell you which part of man the thing I come from. Film thing I come from, we from Seattle, when him in a territory for Seattle for 3 years. And him joined the politics 97.
Yes.
And Chuck, we are running off him out where they say him know Andrew long time. Yeah, him know him from them time in the Seattle office. And him run him charity. And he was a lawyer who set up the charity them time left. Because him tell us him Andrew lawyer along, he must Seattle lawyer would do all of them the thing there.
Yes.
You understand?
Mm-hmm.
So I remember say the Integrity Commission flagging the charity money, you know.
There you go.
So the $47 million way my boss want him coming up politics with. It can be possible true, but him couldn't disclose it, him have to hide it. And the question would arise from them time there. But now, as we say, liar something come back straight, you know. So I come all of them things they come back around for them, you know.
There you go. There you go.
Chuck said no the prime minister for over 30 years, so I'm supposed to know him from them recruit him in a Siago bandwagon thing, and we don't know if he repetition already. Them borrow and pay back, and him more government, GCT, money thing company, them when so you might want him, so Andrew, they want him there, where they get some of the legacy from Blanks and them time there, and maybe they allow of them to wash out some of the money and hide it though.
Point taken, my brother.
And the same thing, him have people running in a circle, but we don't know about the hide him little money for you, keep it for you. More side money. Because I don't think all of you look money this man. The amount of money him got, right? It's alone, man. I won't leave about them.
Oh boy.
The main thing when I stress about, I really like when somebody get a deep dive, you know, the third person there, we are shareholder of the SSL.
Well,
you understand?
Well,
yeah, I'm trying to work for me, you know, so I look out for somewhere along the line. So,
well,
no, if you can do it, there's other person out in the circle who not tight, and if you even come together and find out, but it must be there, man.
Well,
records must be there.
Well, guess what? Me know say myself, Lonesome and Rattigan and Maria, and all of us we have to start to get us what they call it, scuba tank, and try deep diaper.
Yeah, man, I forgot deeper, man.
You have to go deeper, my brother. Exactly, my brother. Yes, sir. Yes, yes.
From 94, between 94 for finding out the charity company when I work for Siago from them time then.
Yes.
I want to find a missing.
No, between 95, between 95 and 96. Remember, I said 94. He was in university. So between 95 and 96.
He left university 95,
yes.
Between 95 and 97.
Yes.
And coming out of politics.
Yes.
Because that's the only job description him have, you know.
Exactly.
That was a charity, so he still never have a pay bill. He just a donation, he get like a charity, a voluntary thing. So
yes, man, you are correct.
Your transportation and your time, and then you don't get a proper salary, a big salary. So
yes, you are correct.
Money, cause charity.
You are correct.
Charity money, you know, so you love them thing there. Someone wanna do that deep dive.
All right, my brother. Bless up yourself.
All right. Yeah, man, I call from East Kingston, East
all right.
Man.
Blessings, my brother. All right. Okay. He touched some solid points. Yes, brother Rattigan. I'm sorry to
Yeah, no man, no worries, man. No. The caller, you see, if the caller had made that statement to me like 2 years ago.
Yes.
2 years ago, I said to him, saying him sick because the prime minister would have never done something like that. But I would be wrong because after what we see what going on right now, and with all the money that's a flow, him do it with such disdain, him do it with such openness, him do it and him just a flaunt the dog, and like him just say, right, let me not care, but you know, I'm here in Jamaica, me a bro God, me can do what I want to do. And so the caller, the point the caller make is a good point. Because because the way the prime minister was acting, who knows if he was on the board? We don't know. We don't know, and I'm right. We need to take a look and find out who that missing board of director that director is. We don't know. But the point I wanted to show you was this: that again, I mean, kudos to the Integrity Commission for work that they did, yes. But it wasn't perfect, and you have to point out the imperfections. Yes. Look at this statement, 5.8.3. 5.8.32. It speaks to everything that we've been talking about as to why they didn't go back. Look at what they said. They said it is important to note that the source of funds used to acquire assets. Sorry, not that one. Not this one here. Next page, right? That's 63. This is 64. He said yes. Certification and publication of Mr. Holness's assets, income, and liabilities up to 2020 were done mainly on what? On the face of what was presented.
Okay. So they answered it.
They never look. They just say, I would just say, okay.
Okay. So
It's right there.
So now we understand.
Yeah.
Because they answered it.
Them on side.
Maybe it was out of their scope, the sort of investigation that needed to be done, and now that's why they refer to FID, because maybe most of their investigation is based off documentation that's presented by the persons who are filing.
But here's the thing.
Yes.
The thing is the director of information and complaints, his primary job is to review statutory declarations and verify. So
yes.
They did what they're saying right here is that we didn't do any verification. He just gave us the thing on the paper, and based on the face of what was presented, we said it must be okay, and we just do it. Because otherwise, they would have said we verified it, we went and we checked out the information that he provided us. But look at how they phrased it.
They said they just face value and certified it.
Ratty, you have pointed out.
They didn't do any investigations back then.
So you have pointed out. You understand, Zara Burton curiosity as to why they didn't go back there, because it is their bold in writing up to 2020 were done mainly on the face of what was presented in his declarations, no investigation.
No. Exactly, and big up yourself, Freedom, because Freedom jogged my memory about this thing, and when she said, does the IC have people that are experienced in the matter of investigating specific accounting matters like these? And then it starts to themselves, that's a good point, because if they had, then why is it they didn't go back? And then we said, well, wait a minute, I remember I saw something where them said they didn't go back, they just look at the documents that were presented, and on the face of the documents, they said we certified and published it. So now, the point that you made and Maria made, about them going back and starting way back, they would be justified now in doing it, because now they could say, you know what, we didn't do a deep dive, we didn't do a complete investigation of it, but now that we're seeing some blatant actions taken here as far as his financial life is concerned, we need to go back now, and that's why I asked. That's why the question now as to whether if something was certified, can you go back and uncertify it? And said, no, we're pulling the certification because we have come across information now indicating that it shouldn't have been certified in the first instance.
Exactly.
But it's right there.
Yes.
It says
all right. The investigation that FID is going to take, right, depending on when FID is going to do the investigation, it is going to have what we call a domino effect, Ratty, as it relates to FID getting back to the source, right? The source of the crime, which now is going to expose the era where Admat existed as it relates to 2008, right? That era is critical, you understand, to unfold all of what we have seen here, right? And so then, let me again ask another question here, right? I'm just, not asking a question, but I'm going to, utilize an hypothetical reference here. Said November 7 arrived and the court picked out Andrew Holness' application, right? Where the events would have taken from there. What would happen? How the events would be unfolding. Is it a situation that the Prime Minister now, right, where under that investigation and where FID is going to now launch the investigation? Is it appropriate now for the Prime Minister to step aside?
Yes, and the Prime Minister should have stepped aside when the report came out. Should have stepped aside then, because it was damning and it's serious. Even though to me, it didn't go as far as it could go, but as far as it went, it cast a very, very bad light on him. And the question now is on November 7th, what will happen if they rule against him? Well, don't forget that the opposition tried to pass a motion asking the Parliament to support the referral to FID, and the government the government representative said that they said no, they're not gonna entertain the motion. And if you remember, the Prime Minister's wife, Speaker of the House, she wasn't there when it happened, and then when she came, she said she would have entertained the discussion. Don't know if she's, she just saying it genuinely or she just saying it. But here's the thing. Several people said, well, and I believe Colonel Charles Jr., if I'm not mistaken, he was one of them who said, well, there's no point in us entertaining this motion because the referral has been made already. Right? All right. They said, so why we entertain it, but we're going to support it? It's over there already. The question is, what has FID done with it since they've received it? Are they sitting on it and then saying, well, we're just going to wait for the court to render a decision before we conduct any investigation? If I were there, I wouldn't be waiting on the court. No, because I wouldn't be waiting on the court because here's the thing.
What?
Come November 7th, we don't know what's going to happen. If they rule in favor of the Prime Minister, guess what? The Attorney General and others, they have to file an appeal. They must file an appeal. This case is not going away anytime soon. And I can tell you right now, the Prime Minister he's having sleepless nights. Like myself, but for different reason. He might have sleepless nights because here's what happened. Should he lose that action, he has no choice now but to file an appeal. And he's going to elevate the matter and it's going to be in the public domain, into public space even longer. Now it's going to get into international space because it's gone to the appeal court.
Wow.
Right? And it's going to be a bigger problem for him. So there is going to be an appeal. Whoever loses is going to appeal this case. Him can't just lose and just say, all right, that's it. That's not his nature. And him come this far, right, putting up a fight, so he's not going to stop. He's going to appeal. So this case is going to go on for a while. It's going to stay there, which is contrary to the 9-day wonder thing. And this is happening because of him. If he had any sense, I shouldn't say it like that because because I shouldn't say it like that because he might have enough sense that some people voted for him. But if he was thinking about this thing carefully, he would have said, you know what, 9-day wonder. We could just make it run. Mr. Clark is leaving. We'll find somebody who can go over there and we can deal with the investigation from the Ministry of Finance perspective and quash the whole thing. And that's it. We'll just move on to the election. That's what he should have done. That's what he should have done, but he never do it. Him ego get the better him and he make people tell him, give him all kind of fool advice. And now he go file a big lawsuit. Yes. And never got a problem. And without him, and you know what? They never even named the Attorney General. He never named the Attorney General. And he have to realize, he must know that no law can be passed in Jamaica without first, after it leaves the Parliament, it have to go to the Attorney General for the test of constitutional sufficiency to say, okay, this law is fine, it's okay with the Constitution, and then it moves on to our friend there, our friend who know how to, I don't think he know that use scissors. It go the GG, it go over this to him and then him just sign off.
Just that man.
That's it. So the questions that you're asking, they're very pertinent, but I can tell you that there is going to be an appeal. There is going to be an appeal. So this case is not over. And to be honest with you, for our purposes, we don't want it over so quick. We want it still. Because more things are going to come out and there's no 9-day wonder. There's no 9-day wonder. And I just hope that FID should just, I hope that they've begun the investigation and they've started with the Egmont group and start doing what. And by the way, FID, please, we don't need to talk to the CG in New York. Just talk to her. Okay, all right. No, we don't need to talk to. They need to talk to Mr. Knight. Can we call him Mr. now? We don't have to call him Minister anymore, right? Call him Mr. Nigel Clark, Dr. Clark. We have to talk to Dr. Clark. We have to talk to Minister Favour Williams, and then we have to talk to the CG. And you know why? Because those three people are the people with the most financial experience, I think, of the entire JLP group. And
Yeah.
and we believe that the Prime Minister was in constant contact with the CG before she became CG, when she was involved in the financial industry. And so we need them to interview her. And the first thing we need to tell her is that please do not tell us any lies, because if we find out that you lie about a material fact, then you're looking at prison time, and then go from there. So, but this is interesting. This is interesting because this is going to go on for a while. This is going to go on for a while.
Quite interesting. Okay.
But sorry, before you move on, because I'm curious too.
Yes.
Key Watson had asked this question for a while. Does anyone have an idea why Andrew Holness can't be forced to step aside until his investigation is completed?
Yeah, because you need a vote of no confidence.
Yeah.
To get rid of him. And absent that, it's entirely up to him.
Yes.
It's entirely up to him. If he says if there's no request for a vote, a no confidence vote in Parliament, then he doesn't have to do anything. He can stay there as long as he wants. And all people can do is try and apply pressure, like PSOJ, and maybe his mother and I don't know if his wife would pressure him, but maybe his constituency, and maybe all of Jamaica can protest and say, no, you need to go. Or maybe they need to go up at the US Embassy and say, please help us get rid of this man. Go to the US Embassy one day, go to the UK Embassy, go to the Canadian Embassy, and get rid of him. Other than that, no, you can't force him. You can only do it by a
vote of no confidence.
Question: if FID is investigate, and wouldn't that be a criminal investigation if FID starts to investigate?
No, it is a criminal investigation.
So he should be able to. You should step aside because it will be a criminal investigation.
But it's up to him.
Of Jamaica take like a class action motion against him in the court to step aside?
No, you still can't force him. Here's how you force him. Two ways you can force him. One is through the no confidence, and two is to introduce him to some nice jewelry, some bangles, and then then he have to go. Yeah, if you introduce him to some bangles, then he have to go.
Yes.
But other than that, there's nothing you can do.
All right. And let me just have Sister Maria in this space right now, because we can't burn out the lady, someone. Come in, Sister Maria. Dying to hear your voice,
Yeah, arrogance would not allow Andrew Holness to do the right thing and step aside. And his arrogance has been on display since he was in opposition. Because remember now, he was the opposition leader who had those signed undated resignation letters, and he used them, and he was taken to Constitutional Court, and he lost, and the people had to, it was Tufton and Arthur Williams, I think it was, who were put back into the Senate because they did the noble thing of making government work and sided with the PNP on an issue. And he took issue with that. So what purpose did he serve them? What was the purpose of being there? If he's going to just for the sake of being just oppose for the sake of opposing and not govern, because even though you're in the opposition, one can govern in terms of how you choose to oppose legislation on behalf of the Jamaican people and how you support legislation on behalf of the Jamaican people. So they're an integral part of the government. But I'm thinking about his behavior through the years. He has little or no regard for the Jamaican people. And, you say now that him being investigated by FID is it's a criminal investigation. Now, Ratigan, my question to you is there anything, whether in the Integrity Commission Act or in the Constitution, that would allow for POCA to be a part of this Proceeds of Crime Act? Because if he has wealth, unexplained wealth, those things should be confiscated and sold, and those monies put back into the coffers, the public coffers. So will POCA play a crucial role in the investigation of the Prime Minister? Because it cannot only apply to poor people where they confiscate the unexplained wealth from poor people and do away with it and then put the money back into the coffers. It should apply across the board. How can this be applicable to Andrew Holness?
Well, poker, there is and it gets a little bit tricky now, because now we have to digress a bit and talk about the CMOC, which is the organization, the oversight committee that they formed back in 2020 to deal with crime issues, reduction of crime, transformation of the JCF, helping out the judiciary, as well as another group, not the firemen, the correctional people. And what happened is that one of their priorities was to have this. It's similar to, because poker is the law, but they were supposed to make an amendment to it, and the government decided that they're just going to slow walk this thing, and they have not done it. I'm looking for it right now, because I had them on 2 weeks ago, and they were talking about I had Lloyd Distant, who's the outgoing head, and I had George Overton, who is the co-chair, new co-chair, and they were talking about it, talking about the fact that they were disappointed that the government didn't see it fit to move forward with the thing, with the poker amendment that would deal with the issue you just raised, as well as the fact that he's taking them to court to get rid of the illicit enrichment provision of the Corruption Prevention Act. So they're very upset about it. And the thing that you're talking, they did not amend poker. So right now, the only thing they can really go after them for is under the illicit enrichment. And if that is stricken from the law, then we have some serious problems. I don't know what we're going to do after that.
Exactly. All right, Ratty, I want to ask both you and Sister Maria, right? A serious question as it relates to first understanding Andrew Holness' strategy facing the eve of a general election. Now, as it relates to constitutionally speaking, right, we do a general election, right, constitutionally every 5 years, which would be next year. Now, Andrew Holness facing this predicament. Now, what I'm going to ask, right, in terms of Andrew Holness, right, facing this situation, having a general election next year, and you have the Integrity Commission annual report, right, for 2024-2025, which that Integrity Commission annual report may reveal, you understand, other persons from illicit, as it relates to the illicit 7, as it relates to the 2024-2025 annual report. My question, right, just trying to understand Andrew Holness. Does he want to do you believe that he's going to call a general election before the Integrity Commission 2024-25 annual report, right? Not wanting to have any more release of the illicit 7 that left, or he's going to take it to the wire? I'm just asking. Anyone can answer first.
Maria, I'll yield.
I'm not sure if, this is a tricky one, because it would be in his best interest not to call it before the Integrity Commission make the report, because what if people's names are called? So you do it before they come up with a report. You wrap up the election, and all the thief them still back in the parliament. That's one way of looking at it. But in the interest of good governance and transparency, he should call it after the fact. And what should happen is that the names of the persons who are under investigation should be made public. so that people know who it is that they're voting for. One, Andrew Holness is not qualified to lead the country. He's not qualified to lead the Jamaica Labour Party. He should be disqualified. He should be set aside. They need to deal with that. There need to be some people in the JLP with some balls to stand up and say, enough of you, Andrew Holness. We cannot have you weighing the party down, because the truth is Andrew is dead weight, as we have seen with these polls. And he's going to continue going down and down in the polls because people are tired of his arrogance, his disrespect, and his wanton disregard for the Jamaican people and their intelligence. So it would be in his best interest to do it before, but I would say I have a problem with doing that. Doing it, getting rid of the persons who are under would be better. Be fully transparent. Let the Jamaican people know who it is that they are voting for. Who are the dishonest people? Because the truth is, if this was on the PNP, they would be asking for this. And they'd be coming out and saying, you're not qualified and we need people of unquestioned. Those are the words of the Prime Minister, you know. He needs people of unquestioned integrity in his parliament. He has no integrity, so he's not qualified to be there. He has questionable character. His integrity is compromised, so he should step aside. And pressure needs to be brought to bear on the government to make sure that the names of the persons who are because they know themselves. This thing about that nobody knows who's on it is garbage. They know who is being investigated. They know that they're being investigated. Have the guts and the decency to come out and say, yes, they were written to by the Integrity Commission and they're under investigation for unexplained wealth, illicit enrichment, taking taxpayers' money. They don't have hospital, they don't have school. So who have the money? Who get the money? That's what it comes down to. So that is where I would start. Give us full transparency, but call the election and let the chips fall where they may. But I don't think he would call it. I really don't think he's going to call it before June. But, it depends because the polls are not in his favor. So he might wait it out, to see how things, because he said he can turn it up and turn it down, which makes no sense. And he says he has so much things to say and he's not saying what he needs to say. He's only cherry picking stuff out of the FinSac report and using it as, as a distraction. But what he needs to say is where he get the money from to maintain 28 bank accounts. Is he a banker or a prime minister? Is he an author? Is he a student, full-time student, or a prime minister? No, that is what he needs to talk about. Yeah.
All right. Ratty?
Yeah, a couple of quick points. Anne-Marie, just please put that up for me. Let me just show the viewers. All right. Marie was just asking about the Proceeds of Crime Act. The stakeholders, see that deeply concerned by governments about turn, and this is what they were talking about: unexplained wealth orders, and that's the amendment to it. And here it is, right here. It is in bold. Stakeholders in the National Consensus on Crime say they are deeply concerned to learn that the government is no longer pursuing as a priority the introduction of unexplained wealth orders. And then it goes on to tell you what exactly unexplained wealth orders are further down. But I don't want to take up much time. If you can find, this is a Dina article and it's dated the 4th of October, I believe. Yeah, I think it's October 4th. Sorry.
Go down.
Okay, thanks.
Fast.
Yeah, see that? Friday, October 4th. You can just, that's the headline. Stakeholders deeply concerned. You can look at all of that. Now, let me just say one quick thing here. Owen Bernard in the chat, him said, Mr. Rattigan, he always seems to be giving Conjure Holness some ideas of how and what he could or should have done to get out of this conundrum. Owen, let me just say this to you. You don't know me. You don't know me. You don't know. You don't know. And I don't know if I think you listen to my program, but we have to bring you closer to the front of the class, man. Because here's how you look at it, Owen. You see the advice I'm giving the Prime Minister. I know he can't help him. He can't go V, he can't go V, he can't go up, he can't go down. Think about it like this, Owen. It's like somebody rob a bank and them home and them see them picture up on the TV, and them here said there's a APB out for them and whatnot. Now him sit down there and he might have said to himself, well, what if I go back and take back the money and carry it and give the bank? And just give them and say, let bygones be bygones. But I give them back the money.
Already.
Owen, exactly, because Owen, guess what? The crime has been committed.
Yes.
So no matter what you do. So that's why I'm saying to you, Owen, the Prime Minister never take my advice. And if me want the Prime Minister to go left, Owen, me I go tell him to go right. Because when him not go with me, I go left. But him in a position now, wait, no matter what me tell him to go, anywhere him go, him get jammed because like right now, yeah, him get jammed because right now, when this kid, when they have this hearing, him lose it, and we fully expect him going to lose it, him going to have to appeal. And him going to do something against his nature, something we no want to do, which is to keep him out in the limelight. It's bad enough we do it, but when him do it to himself, it's like him commit suicide. So, Owen, if you're tune in tomorrow and come read with Ratigan and come over, man, and make we talk, man. And then on Saturday you can come and just reason with Ratigan, you know. But the ideas of when I get the Prime Minister, trust me, the ideas him can't take none of them. Because I give him film sit down there and him have to say to himself, why me never think about this before? Because guess what, the bank robbery don't commit already.
Exactly.
So no matter if you come down and give back the money, it don't commit already. So that is that.
All right.
Election, whether or not you call the election.
Yes.
Again, I'm in a bad position, Byron. I'm in a bad position.
That's
Because here's what happened now. The dollar get weaker. The Bank of Jamaica prop it up. Them can't prop it up much longer. Remittances are go down. Tourism dollars not coming in fast enough and not coming in sufficient amount. Prices are going up. We have the Prime Minister now who in a bad position. How am I going to call the election now before Christmas? It is forecasted that this Christmas is going to be one of the worst in history, of Jamaica. So you can't call it before Christmas. So again, it's a bank robbery example where I get. Exactly. You can't bring back the money. That's what it won't commit already. So now him sit down there and believe me, him no know where him for don't know because him get bad advice to begin with and him go rob the bank, so to speak. People, no, please don't call me and say, please, Mr. Rob Bank. It's just a metaphor, right? It's just Prime Minister rob the bank. It's just for the purpose of the conversation. We say, the bank done rob already, so you can't bring back the money because them still have a charge you for bank robbery.
Exactly.
Right? And if you keep the money, you don't go away and them hold it, they're going to charge you for bank robbery. That is exactly what. So he can't call it. He might think and say, right, I can't put the numbers them go down, so I can't call it now. Things are look worse. Mr. Clark jump ship and gone left me, right? And Mr. Tufton, who's supposed to help me, I've signed book in Atlanta. Everybody I do something else, nobody now rally around me. You know, the only thing I save him right now, the only thing I save this Prime Minister right now from his own party is that them don't have a suitable replacement. If they had a suitable replacement, he would be gone. But you see, what they're thinking about politics, they're not thinking about the people of Jamaica. And so what they're saying is that we have to win at all costs. And even if it means we have to keep this man, this bank robber, we have to keep him because if we give him up, I can get arrested, the whole thing mash up. So that is why them can't do it. So but look at next year. If I'm doing this year, I'll be very surprised. But I can tell you one thing: if I'm doing it this year, guaranteed he will lose. Guaranteed he will lose.
Next year, guaranteed.
Yeah, but also remember now on this issue of money and how you have a thing about money is that remember he's the one who got an unsecured loan when he should have gotten a secured loan. He borrowed the money.
Yeah, hold the point there because I have a call online. You understand?
Okay.
I use up is our credit. I want to just facilitate a bit. Yes, caller. You're on Mystic Sensation Live. Go ahead.
Yeah. Good night to Mystic Sensation and your panelists, sir.
Bless up my brethren.
Yeah, man. I just want to go back to this SSL situation.
Yes.
A bit. As far as I'm aware, the Minister of Finance should be in meeting office tonight.
Yes, that is correct.
Now, okay, he made a statement from last year, 2023, when the incident of the fraud with the SSL made a statement to Parliament about the involvement of a lot of organizations, including the FBI. And he says that no stone will be left unturned. He's going to bring all the perpetrators to justice, and the chip will fall where they may. It doesn't matter where, but it is going to. Now he's leaving office, and we, as the Jamaican people, he has not given us a formal report as to the status of SSL. He has not told us anything about the involvement of anybody else, save and except for the lady who confessed who is still in jail. Nobody else, right? And his leave is demitting office tonight. Now, one of the world's most known persons, Usain Bolt, got robbed in SSL because as far as the Minister of Finance said at the time, it was one of the greatest frauds that we could, in our recent recollection, in Jamaica and in the Caribbean for that matter, fraud, And Usain Bolt was a victim of that fraud. So Usain Bolt would have heard the statement that the Minister of Finance made at the time because the global media had all of the information about what had happened to Bolt and his loss. Now, this might be a radical suggestion, but I believe the time has come when Usain Bolt should go to the international media and tell them the true position of what has happened to him.
Agreed.
I believe he should do that because, listen, it is not that he was not affected, and he says, and you read a lot of his what you call the media again? Is a TikTok, a lot of things coming out, and he's making comments saying that nobody not say nothing to him, but he now come out and make a definitive statement about his status. All we know that he has not got back his money. But to me, Mystic, if Usain Bolt should come out and make a statement, remember, it is going to have a trickling effect because Usain Bolt is a victim of corruption. And it's that same corruption that is afflicting all Jamaicans. Look at the hospitals, look at our roads, look at our teachers, our nurses, and you can go right down. And some ordinary Jamaicans that are being affected by corruption, paying your taxes, and the politician takes it away from them. The people cannot see any benefit. So I am suggesting, I'm sending out a message to Usain Bolt that if he goes out and meet the international media, right now the finance minister is coming to New York, coming to the USA to take up an employment with the IMF. And to my mind, the finance minister, I dare say that he's corrupt because he told a lie about who are going to be involved just to cover up his own colleagues. And I can say it right now because I see it. The Integrity Commission show me that to the extent that the Prime Minister is taking the IC to court. Can you imagine? Integrity Commission, the Prime Minister is taken to court regarding integrity matters. So I believe, and I'm sending out this message to both through your media, that it's time come to America, where some of the biggest media is, and explaining story at the same time. The Nigel Flack who shows to the public that he's corrupt. That would have an impact, and the people back in Jamaica could see some benefit. I believe And I don't know what your panelists might think of my radical recommendation to the legend himself. But I believe it would have some impact and some benefit to the average man who is suffering under this government and their corrupt practices. And I just leave it for now. And thanks for the opportunity.
Yeah, man, every time. And, you know, wonderful input coming from you. So let me just take it to the panel right away as it relates to what the caller just said. Very important. Sister Maria, based on what the caller just said, right? Do you believe that it would apply significant pressure if Bolt himself take this situation outside and start to report it to international entities? What do you think, based on what the caller had just spoken about?
Yes, if Usain goes to one major international news outlet, BBC, MSNBC, CNN, ESPN, and talk about it, it will cause a shift, because now everybody knows Usain Bolt. It's it's an internationally known name, and he's loved. He's loved, you know. So if he does that, it will cause a seismic shift in the conversation about SSL and the level of corruption that exists in Jamaica that allows for this to happen and go unchecked. And like he said, Nigel Clark he said that the FBI were on the ground. He said, all of these things, and he's going to leave no stone unturned. All of the stones are still there. The bodies are still buried, and nobody has gotten any report on the SSL matter, and yet they're running their mouths about something that happened 30 years ago, and something that happened 2 years ago. They have no say about it, like it didn't. It's as if it didn't happen. And here we have, and the thing is, we don't want to just talk about Usain Bolt like there are not other victims. There are many
Yeah.
more victims, but because of his notoriety, he would help to bring some pressure to bear on the conversation and force them to do something about it. But because he's being, he's playing the waiting game, I don't know why, it is. But I do believe that it would cause a sea change in the conversation. It would be a seismic shift, yes.
Okay. Ratty, we have another half an hour to wrap up on the program.
Yeah. Quickly, Owen Bernard. Owen Bernard. Yes, my virgin. I understand where you're coming from, but I hope you understand where I'm coming from. Everything good. All right. So tune in tomorrow and tune in on Saturday. Now, regarding the Bolt, sometimes when you're afar, you can see things as opposed to when you're involved. And maybe that's why we can see so many mistakes being made, because we're not involved. Because if we were involved, maybe we would have made some of those mistakes. Maybe we wouldn't have, because we're not driven by greed or corruption. So maybe we wouldn't have made some of the mistakes we made. Why do I say this? I say this because we're talking about the icon, Usain Bolt. I hope we remember something when we'll talk about him going to the international media. That on or about January 17th of last year, you remember what happened? His lawyer gave SSL a 10-day notice. If we not get our money back in 10 days, wara. And what happened? Yeah. Nothing happened. You can't make them statements unless you have your thing set up and you say, we'll take action if we not get the money, and you take action. That's how you do it. So I don't know who advised Bolt, but you need to come around here. You need to come around. You see, if you watch this program, anybody who close to him, tell him to reach out to us, because around here is where the real advice resides around here. Because we not do it because we are looking at friend or not like that. We are looking at the Jamaican people. And you cannot have the illegal representative come out and make bold statements like that in the press, that them get SSL 10 days, and if them don't turn over the money, what kind of action you'll take? And up to now, it's almost 2 years now, right? And no, it's 2030. Yeah, it's almost 2 years. 2013 to 2014 to 2015. Yeah, almost 2 years, not a few months. It'll be 2 years. And up to now, you don't get your money. I yield.
Okay. All right. Let me just take Brother Uriel here. Yes, Brother Uriel, you're live. Please go ahead. Good.
Because the family.
All right.
Question here. Making other people talk about Nigel ago overturn every stone. But my little piece to that is that instead we don't run the stone. We get to the stone. So we're sorry saying get a push off before and get to the stone. So we could leave that alone.
All right, Uriel.
Who I'm going down this part then. When out of Andrew something there. Tufton. Which one of them lie more?
Well, the last time I look on the race, I shot the both of them time now.
Because that them look like stopping black dog for monkey. That look like stopping black dog for dog. And dog we are stopping dog.
Exactly.
Because can't look on the line more than Christoph that right now, Virgin.
Well.
Me think he might be Andrew by far. Me know say Andrew narcissist, but this someone that know a different class myself.
He was a little bit ahead of Andrew, but Andrew knows touch the finishing line before him.
Because I cannot believe that Christopher Tufton could attack said it. He blame doctors, he blame administrators, he blame everybody in the book.
Not do it.
Except say, Virgin, why me drop the ball?
But then today he said he never did it.
Well, me hear Shaggy come out and talk about it wasn't me, but Shaggy, me don't know, you missed the boat, man. This someone that beat you.
All right.
So, well, big up on yourself here, sir. But put it this way, Baron.
Yes.
I hear Sister Maria talk about why the people in the party for push him out. No, nobody in the party can push him out. Nobody in the party can push him out because everybody come up the same way.
Exactly.
Probably the worst come up than him. And then just push him up front to take all of the blame. Because see Chucky come out on the inside and now say the boss Andrew don't need no taxpayer money. He don't need no from politics. So he came into politics squeaky clean and leaving squeaky clean. He don't have nothing to do with nothing. He don't take nothing. And I went on the boss. Where Chucky get the information from now? All these years people that talk about Andrew and Chucky just come out with them information. But I don't know. And as I will always say, until we hear the next 7 or the next 8, because probably they never lump the Prime Minister in the 8.
Yes.
They have him as a separate entity. So they just say 8 members of Parliament plus the Prime Minister. So we don't know if I hear that. So, but for right now, we have the whole 49 of them as under investigation. All of them, because we don't know who. Right?
Yes.
And they don't have no intention within no more election. And that's not for them thing now. For them thing right now is just to protect themselves from going on a GP, because the sons run a rise and suppose that clean out all the place run for them.
You're right, my friend.
So we go to the motivators and go and take care of yourself out there.
All right, bless up yourself, my brother. All right, that's brother.
But here's the thing, gentle people. Delroy Chuck suffers from acute mental lapses. Because remember now, he said he has known Andrew Holness for over 30 years. Wasn't he the same person that took Andrew Holness to court on behalf of Tufton and Williams when he gave them he kicked them out of the Senate, having with the undated resignation letters?
You're correct.
You know, he's a little sketchy. right there when he's, because how do you defend a person like that who's violating the constitution of the very country that you are running?
Exactly.
That alone should disqualify him, because that is incurable and untenable.
Mm-hmm.
One quick thing that regarding Chuck, Chuck, Minister Chuck, where he said that them don't need the money from politics. If that are the case, why I'm vote for the raise then? Why I'm not give it back? Since he don't need the money, them not to give it back. Yeah, and the Prime Minister only give back fee one when he realized the outcry. Him lobby for it, right? Vote for it, and then himself no want it, which is very, very strange. The second thing is correction. Nigel never said, Dr. Clark never said, I will not leave any stone unturned. Him said, no stone will be left unturned. He must say, whoever turned them over. So he gone. He said, no, he can't say, it wasn't me. It wasn't me.
I'm glad you point out that Ratty. Glad you point. All right, so people, I am just going to release the phone lines for persons. As I said, I'm going to finish the program at 9:30 to be exact, because of course I don't want to keep.
But before you do that, you know, we have to talk a little bit about the kind of rhetoric that is coming out of the Jamaica Labour Party via the MPs about the election, because Roy Clark said at a campaign rally that, because I wrote it down. He said it's not going to be peaceful, nice. The politics of the day is changed.
Wow.
And his opponent is Senator Allen. And this is what I'd love to say to the Jamaican people. Stop allowing politicians to turn you against your neighbor. That's your neighbor. You can have differences of opinion. You can have political differences. But why would you want to destroy your neighbor? Why would you want to destroy your communities for a politician? Because when they give you $5,000, you elect them for 5 years and they pay themselves millions of dollars. And you still don't have roads, you still don't have schools, you still don't have hospitals. Instead of voting for the person who gives you a fish, vote for the person who is willing to teach you how to fish.
Very good.
That's because they're setting you up for a better life. Think of your children, your grandchildren, think of yourselves, and don't let it go back, because what this harkens to is the politics of the late 1970s, 80s,
yes,
orchestrated by the Jamaica Labour Party. And they cannot allow themselves to be taken back there. And Roy Clark should be, and I'm wondering who is going to call him out on this, where's the PAJ and PSOJ and all the AJs and whoever the Ps, to come and hold these people accountable for spewing this kind of hatred against their fellow man. Because when he says that, and Warmington is always out there saying insidious things, dangerous things, calling people dog, chink and fly, Jamaicans. And they want to represent these people, but you're saying, no, you cannot come because you over there is this person. Whenever you sit and condone discrimination against anybody, it's only a matter of time before you are the one being discriminated against. It's only a matter of time before you are the one who is being disrespected. So I implore the Jamaican people, please do not support or vote for any politician who is pitting you against your neighbor. They are your neighbors. Your children play with them. When you go to the same church, it cannot be that an election, you're going to cause an election to destroy your entire community. And Roy Clark should be raked over the coals for saying that, because he's basically inciting violence against the Jamaican people from his bully pulpit. And he's the deputy speaker of the House. And when he says that, crazy people are listening. Mm-hmm. And it cannot be that they're going to win the election by any means necessary.
It's necessary.
No, have a free and fair election. That's what the Jamaican people want. Free and fair election. You don't have to use brute force and ignorance. You don't have to use dishonesty. You don't have to use thievery and stuffing of ballot boxes. And you do not have to incite violence from your bully pulpit against the Jamaican people who you say you want to represent. You want them to send you to parliament to do what?
Exactly.
No politician should be giving gun to anybody to cause harm to people's children and to destroy their neighbors. It is time for this nonsense to stop. And for those politicians who want to give a $5,000, take the money and go and vote for who you want to vote for.
Yes.
But stop taking fish. We can look at what happened with Damon Crawford. When Damon Crawford was running in East Portland against Anne-Marie Valls, he said he talked about farming and having young people becoming entrepreneurs, gold farmers. They laughed up and they mocked him. And they voted for somebody who went lay a carpet. The rainfall, water went up the carpet lift up and gone. And you're still there. And I'm sure you regret not voting for somebody who had who was more concerned about your future and not only your present. You have an Isaac Buchanan who is down there right now, who is talking about empowering the young people. Stop voting for people who will give you a fish. It's not going to change overnight, but if you're willing to work with somebody who is willing to give you a start in life, that is the person who you must support.
Yes.
Not the person who is going to give you $5,000 and then get $5 million as pay.
Mm-hmm.
Because when the $5,000 is finished, you're still hungry. Your children cannot go to school. You don't have hospitals to go to. It's not even a free doctor can come to Jamaica and do a surgery for free. Let that make some sense. Let that be your guidepost. You have to measure these people by how they are treating you right now. And they can come with all the promises, oh, we're going to give a house there and a fall cup there and this there, and somebody going to get a donkey and one going to get a cow and we're going to fix a piece of road for one person. No, invest in the young people, invest in their communities, the skills training centers, the vocational training centers. Not every child is going to make it academically. What is there for those persons who did not make it academically? It cannot be $5,000 on a plate of food. It's time for you to stop doing that, become educated, informed voters. Run them more than $5,000 because they're taking $5 million from you. And then they're going to say to you, you cannot ask me anything more because I already bought your vote. Be better.
Exactly.
Can I just make one quick comment on what Maria said? I know time is of the essence, but Maria, the part where she spoke about teaching somebody to fish and giving them a fish and teaching them how to fish, you know, think about this. The Prime Minister promised prosperity. He has prospered.
Mm-hmm.
He's gonna give you a fish, which is $5,000. All right. If we can make the comparison, if not just him, but all politicians, if they are going to buy votes, I'm going to give you $5,000. But look at what the Prime Minister has amassed in such a short period of time. What the Prime Minister should do is come out and say, listen, I'm going to show you how to achieve prosperity like I did. I'm going to show you how you can form 3 companies in the midst of a pandemic. And I'm going to show you how we can move 474 million Jamaican dollars in and out of the. I'm going to show you that. I'm going to show you you can buy a house at Beverly Hills. I'm going to show you you can have a company overseas and we can get money through the company and come and buy up things in a Jamaica. That is where I'm supposed to. When I talk about prosperity, all I want to jump up and down about prosperity, go back and look and ask yourself, are you better off now than when he first told you about prosperity? And I guarantee, I submit to you that most of you will say it's gotten worse. But for the Prime Minister, it's gotten better.
Much better.
Think about what Maria said. Fish, or do you want to be taught how to fish?
All right.
I rest like this.
Let's get back to, as it relates to how the Jamaica Labour Party is building up a narrative for violence, and I want people to identify this. Without these people, what I'm going to show, right, to as it relates to what Sister Maria said, where Eli Clark is going out and is not being called in. You understand? By the leader of his party, because the leader of the party is doing the very same thing. You can play. Okay. Yep.
I know that as leader of the country, as leader of the political party, many men wish death upon me.
Many men wish death upon me.
As your leader, I am always ready. as your leader, I can absorb, like Muhammad Ali, all the punches. And sometimes I don't throw no punch, you know. Sometimes I just rope a dope. I just bounce with it. But don't worry. The knockout punches are going to come, because we have worked too hard to build this country, to make the fake people come and take what we have built. We will work hard, we will show care, and we will get the people of Jamaica to support us and continue the good work of the Jamaica Labour Party. My Jamaica Labour Party family, the people of Jamaica, I love you. Thank you. God bless you, and go home safe.
You know, Sister Maria and Brother Rattigan, when I just listened this, it appears as if the Prime Minister is definitely threatening the electorate and threatening, right, the opposition party. Because what he said here, right, that the knockout punch is going to come because he has worked too hard to let it go. And I see that. I see that as a political threat. I definitely see that what the Prime Minister is saying, that he's not going to let this go by the ballot, right? It seems like he's suggesting, you understand, that by any means necessary, he's not going to let go power. He's going to deliver knockout punches. And that to me seems like a threat. I don't know if I might be over-exaggerating here, but that look to me that the Prime Minister, right, is either threatening the opposition or threatening the electorate. What do you deduce from that, Sister Maria?
He's doing both. And the thing is, he's not the only one saying that, because Darrell Vaz has said the same thing, by any means necessary. We hear, what's his name, Warmington on the camp, he's doing the same thing. And
Yeah.
Darrell Vaz is the son of Douglas Vaz. The Charleses are the children of Pernell Charles. So that bloodline is there and the thing is, they not only the bloodline, their parents were involved in the Jamaica Labour Party at a time when violence was being used to sabotage another party, to sabotage the People's National Party. And they cannot allow themselves to go back there because it's their children and their grandchildren. Many of these, many young people right now, and well, shouldn't say, many adults right now lost their parents in the 80s. Many of them lost brothers and sisters. It cannot be allowed to happen. And when they come up with this kind of rhetoric, they must say to them with their full chest, we will not support you, because you will not come into our communities and destroy our communities. You will not come into our communities and turn us against each other. We need our neighbors. When you're packed up yourself and you're gone to your Jackson and your Cherry Gardens and your Beverly Hills house, we are left in these same garrison communities. We are left with these same zinc fence, with no outlet. You gave the $5,000 and you're gone about your business. It cannot be anymore. They have to stop it. They have to make the change. They have to be the change that they want to see in Jamaica. It cannot be allowed to happen anymore, because we cannot lose any more of our young people to political violence. The crime by itself is high enough. Why do we need to add political violence to it? And any politician, I don't care who it is giving a gun to a young person and telling him to go and cause harm to his fellow Jamaican, they must videotape them. Everybody has an arm. Every donkey cart man has a cell phone. Videotape them some way, somehow, and put it out there in the public space. They must be named and shamed. It cannot be that you're a politician asking people to vote for you, but you're using violence to get into office. And when you get into office and you use violence, who are you going to represent? Who are you going to represent? How are you rebuilding these communities after they've been destroyed? You see what the 1980s violence, the remnants of that are still there. People are still living with the effects of that. Because many of the persons who were in the JLP in the 1980s, 79, 80s, who are part of inciting that violence against the very people they want to represent, like a Pernell Charles and a Babsy Grange and a Audley Shaw, Mike Henry. They were in the JLP that sabotaged the PNP in the 90s. Sabotage them. But the communists is coming. Is the communists there yet? The Chinese are there. And the greatest Chinese communist party is the Chinese People Republic, whatever they call them.
Exactly.
They're the greatest communists, but they're there. Is anybody inciting any violence against them? Is anybody sabotaging them? Is anybody saying the communists are coming? No. But the JLP of the late 1979, under the leadership of Edward Seaga, sabotaged the Michael Manley administration, caused mayhem, bloodshed. Seaga did say blood going run from wherever, you know. He made that statement. I don't remember the exact quote, but he did make that statement.
He also made
and boy, there was bloodshed. What did it?
He also made
yes, exactly. And there was so much bloodshed. Many people lost their lives. Many children lost their parents. Many mothers and fathers lost their children. It cannot be allowed to get back there. And the things that they're saying is mirroring that same language that was being used back then. A lot of people are old enough to remember it. And so we have to guard against it, because when Andrew Holness has gone up, his children are protected. Darrell Vaz's children are protected. Pernell Charles's family is protected. What about you? You cannot throw yourselves to the wolves like that. You cannot allow them to come into your communities and destroy your communities and drive out in their fancy cars with their chauffeurs and their security and leave you there to bury your loved ones. And you don't even have money to bury your loved ones, and maim your loved ones. And you don't even have a hospital to take your loved ones to after they are maimed. And you still don't have a school, you still don't have good schools, you still don't have hospitals, you still don't have proper roads. There's no infrastructure in there because you allow them to use you again for violence. See your brother and your sister as you see yourself. And the churches need to rise up against this kind of rhetoric coming out of these parliamentarians. And anybody come with this madness, this nonsense about it's not going to be peaceful, it's not going to be nice. Are you kidding me? Given the 1980s and what happened, this should not be allowed. And no politician who says that should be allowed to continue in that role. None. Because he's destroying him or her, they're destroying the very community that they want to represent. How wicked and evil can you be to want to do that to your fellow Jamaicans? It is a disgrace, and I implore my Jamaicans, please don't go down that road. Don't run them away, but don't. Yes, like somebody said, Mountain View and Ed Bartlett. Exactly, Ed Bartlett is still there. It's not today. Yesterday, Ed Bartlett in a JLP. So it might sound like stale news, and Andrew like to say, many of you don't remember the 1970s. They remember the 1970s because a lot of people have children, have grandparents and parents who remember the 1970s, and their parents tell them about the 1970s, and their grandparents tell them about the 1970s, and they can read about the 1970s. But a lot of them, do you ask me if they remember the 1980s with the bloodshed in the streets? It cannot be allowed to happen. And whenever we get on our platforms, we have to remind the Jamaican people, do not allow any politician to use you to hate your neighbor. Yes. Do not allow them to use it to destroy your communities.
All right.
Because when they're finished and you give them your vote and they win after destroying, using you to use violence against your neighbor and against yourself, they pack up and they go. And they're in their big houses with their families, having the best meals, and they don't give a shit about you. It is time to wake up and do better for yourselves and for your neighbor.
Yes, thank you for that, Sister Mara. Before I go any further, I just want to remind all the listeners here that tune in on Brother Rattigan Show tomorrow. Please remember to tune in to Brother Rattigan Show tomorrow. It's going to be interesting. And as always, Rattigan Show always an interesting show of packing right? Solid topics. All right. So, Brother Rattigan, you have heard the clip. What have you used from what the Prime Minister?
Based on everything I've seen and heard, the Prime Minister is desperate, and desperate times call for desperate measures. He has lost the faith and the confidence of the Jamaican people. And so, brothers and sisters, family, we cannot afford to have 30% of the voting population determine a mandate for the full 100% of the people who are qualified to vote. We must go out and vote. People died for you to have that right. And it's a crying shame that you would sit back and allow 34% of the people to give a so-called mandate. Think about that. A minority is giving the government a mandate for the majority. And then we sit back and then we complain. You cannot do that. You must register your complaint in the voting booth. That's where you do it. Now, the knockout punch that he's talking about, that knockout punch, you know, when a boxer in prime, in reflexes sharp and punches them crisp, and as you get older, your skills erode. You might talk about knockout punch. The time come for knockout punch gone. You know, when the time the knockout punch was local election. That was the time for the knockout punch, the local election. And what happened? You get knocked out. And it's like a boxer will get knocked out and then put the smelling salts and then get up and then still want to box. And the man must say, no, the fight over. The boxing not over. It, as far as I can say, this thing is over. We just need the people to go out and vote. That's what we need the people to do. Because if you, at the time of when he should have delivered that knockout blow with the local election, since then what has happened is polling numbers are plummeting. You have more issues with education, more issues with housing, more issues with national security, more issues with foreign affairs, more issues with, you name it, you pick a ministry, and you have more issues, you have more complaints. The economy is not doing well as advertised. For the masses, for some people, yes, it's doing well. But for you, the people who were promised prosperity, there is no prosperity coming right now, and there is none as far as we can say until you decide what you're going to do with the election. The change that you're talking about is in your hands or on your finger, the one where you go dipping at the ink. And it's sad to say, but if you continue, my Jamaican people, to have a meager sum of people voting, then this is going to happen again. It's going to happen again. And you cannot blame anyone, because we in the diaspora, we are, for the first time in the history of the diaspora, you have a very dynamic and aggressive group of people saying, we see what the issues are and we're going to bring them to light to our people. And we're going to ask for change. Yes, there are things that we can do and we're doing them, but we cannot do everything. You have to join the fight. You have to raise your voice in unison. And thank God for the people at the Royal Carlton who show the rest of Jamaica that if you're dedicated and if you are cognizant of what the issues are and you're willing to stand up, you can make a change. You see, the Royal Carlton, you see what happened? General manager get suspended. Minister of Tourism Ed Bartlett have high-level meetings. Minister of Colonel Charles Jr. when Ministry of Employment or whatever I mean.
Social Security Minister.
Yeah, him out there. And then the parent company for Royal Carlton, them send out a VP for come Jamaica for come be a part of this. Why? Because people stood up. That's all we're asking people. Let's stand together. You know, we don't want to be unbalanced. We can't do it alone from here. We need to do it from there as well. So I yield to you, my brother. The knockout punch, right. the knockout punch thing that now. So you know when I said knockout punch now, with all of the deficiencies what happened since the local election, it can only mean a return to violence.
Exactly.
Or more vote buying, or bosom, or a combination of all three. So
yes. He's going to use everything that he can use.
Maria laughing. Maria laughing.
All right. Thank you for that.
Maria, me come from the Guzum place.
Let us show the people the history of the violence with Andrew Holness. He's known for violence, regardless of Andrew Holness coming out and shape his pretty what you call political rhetorics. Andrew Holness is known for violence, and let me play the clip and show people the evidence that Andrew Holness is known for violence. All right, so just watch, people.
Mr. Holness joined them up there and walked through the crowd, overran the whole place, went down to the area for registration, overran that area. The electoral supervisors had to leave and abandon their station, and there was disruption for half an hour until we had to restore it and allow some more people to vote. Okay? What he has done is irresponsible and is outrageous and is unworthy of him as leader of the Jamaica Labour Party.
People, not my word, not Maria word, not Rattigan word. Whose word is that? Adley Shaw word. Said what? Andrew Holness is unworthy. Unworthy. So I want you to hear that from him. And there it is. That is where we're going to wrap up with that final clip. Mystic, remember pipe bomb. And somebody just said that. Mystic, remember the pipe bombs, right? What was it? It was what? 380? 320 pipe bombs were found there in troubled area, East Kingston.
The worst thing is even tied, Byron. The worst was even tied.
Yes.
So people need to go back into the archives and dig up all the stories on what happened, the sabotage and the kind of political violence that overran Jamaica in the late 1970s and 80s, orchestrated by the Jamaica Labour Party under Edward Seaga. That's not a figment of my imagination. Those are facts. And if you're shooting at somebody, that person going to shoot back at you.
All right.
If you're fighting somebody, the person going to fight you back.
Exactly.
Them say the pipe bomb. Them say Rennie said the pipe bomb. I wonder if one of them pipe bomb there are one of the what other shipment that end up at the Prime Minister's house the other day. Surprisingly, we never seen no bomb squad up there. We never seen no ambulance up there. And those are the things as first responders expect we see upon a bomb scene. So we are wondering if the bomb scene was a manufactured bomb scene as opposed to the real one where them find the pipe bombs in. So all the missing rifles to yes, so
But Ratty, but the minute they came up with that story, everybody debunked it because they're like, how the police are stationed. That don't look like that is just like an ordinary thing. That just don't look like a bomb scare. What kind of madness is that? And it became 9-day wonder.
Yeah, but you know what? I got it from a police source who told me that there's no such thing as bomb thing. Him said nothing. It's a domestic affair thing. Him said there's no bomb squad up there, no ambulance, not like that, and that's routine. Whenever you have a bomb threat, you're going to have those people. You're going to have you're going to have the bomb squad. You're going to have ambulance. So we know what's going on. Over to you, Mystic. Take it away.